Hello my fellow pigment nerds, thank you for coming back for another episode of the Daniel Smith's Primatek series, and in this episode we are going to be taking a look at Hematite Genuine. Daniel Smith says about hematite as, hematite is ground from a heavy silvery black mineral rich in iron. In a thick wash, the heavier iron particles settle, creating bold granulation. In a thin wash, it is a soft dove grey. Hematite mixes beautifully with other colours, adding its granulation and slightly neutralising the mix in colour. One way to use Hematite Genuine is, with single brush strokes, sketch in branches from thick to thin. The beautiful granulation automatically provides the texture of bark. Hematite, or the traditional Greek name bloodstone, when you paint, you can almost feel the pounding of the battle drums as ancient warriors covered their bodies with hematite in the belief. Basically, it's the same fluffy text that they had for the hematite burnt scarlet about how the large deposit of hematite is believed to be where lots of people bled and stuff. So I am going to save you the pain of having to listen to that waffle again and link to that video for those people who do want to find out what they talked about in terms of the more fluffy side of describing this paint. Hematite Genuine is a Series 3 paint, classified as excellent in light fastness, semi-transparent, low staining and granulating. Welcome back, the paints have dried and this is the Hematite Genuine. My first impression of this colour is that it is basically a heavily granulating black with a little tinge of warmth, especially in the mass tone, but that warmth will disappear once you dilute it from its mass tone. It's very neutralised. Let's look at its hue with other colours. And this is the other colours from this series of the Primatek range. And I would say it's very similar to the black tourmaline in the black granulation, but this is slightly tiny bit warmer than the black tourmaline. However, it's a kind of slight warmth that you can easily add by adding a little bit of brown to your black tourmaline. Let's look at other colours from the Daniel Smith range. And with Lunar Black being Series 1 and Hematite being Series 3 and also the Black Tourmaline is Series 3, Lunar Black is definitely the cheaper option for getting a very similar look. If you really want to recreate the exact look of Hematite, you just mix a little bit of brown in with the Lunar Black and you pretty much get the same look. Let's look at Holbein. I think in terms of the hue of the black granulation, it's closer to the peach black than the ivory black. It's definitely a cooler black rather than a warmer grey. And then Schmincke, not really any of these colours exactly. In terms of gradation, it gradates nicely, but as I said, you lose the warmth, the very small amount of warmth that you have in the mass tone by the time you dilute it into any strength. It does go on relatively streaky onto hot press paper, so you do have to be more careful when you're painting on hot press paper, but on cold press, rough and Archer's cold press, it's totally fine. In terms of the opacity, I can definitely see dark granulation on top of the black line, and therefore I would agree that it is a semi-transparent. And then with lifting, it says it's low staining, and I'm halfway between low staining and non-staining, but there is a very subtle amount of orange left in that stripe where I tried to lift the paint. So yeah, I would lean more to low staining rather than say non-staining, because it's not non-staining. In terms of glazing, unusual for a heavily granulating, low staining paint, it is actually quite good at glazing. You can clearly see where the bottom layer is, and you don't get that typical white line on the outside of the second layer that we normally get if the color isn't so good with glazing. Gauzing was interesting. Hematite came out quite patchy in terms of where the color concentrated. However, is it me or this kind of reminds you of crocodile reptile type pattern? So it might be useful for things like that, and also in just adding some textures to rocks where they're like maybe seaweed or cracks and stuff. It'd be a useful thing to have. It doesn't react at all to salt, and it doesn't move that far when you put it in as wet in wet. In terms of color mixes, I would say it has a medium tinting strength, so you're not going to get really strong mixes with your hematite. However, it does give each of the colors very heavy gray, quite dark gray granulation. Having said that though, so does Lunar Black. So my personal feeling on this is when Lunar Black, the series 1 color, can do pretty much the same thing, then I would just go for that rather than hematite. I can definitely see why they had to add a little bit of waffle to the description to pad out the description, because yeah, when you look at it like this, it's like it does the same thing as Lunar Black, only we're going to charge you more, so we're going to have to add some mystical values to it. So what did you think of the Hematite Genuine? Did you like it? Do you think it's worth the money to pay out series 3 price rather than a series 1 price with the Lunar Black? If you do think so, do let me know in the comments down below why you think that Hematite is so much better or very different from the Lunar Black. I would love to learn from you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!